Hello and welcome to Focus IR. I am John Human and I'm very pleased to be joined today by James Bruegger, who's one of the managers of Seraphim Space Investment Trust. And we're here to talk about a planned £350 million fundraise and why SpaceTech is emerging as one of the most exciting investment opportunities today. Welcome, James.
Hi, John. Thanks very much for having me.
No problem at all. It is, as I say, a very, very exciting area. Perhaps the best thing to do is perhaps if you could briefly introduce Seraphim Space Investment Trust and its role in the space tech market.
Sure, happy to. So Seraphim Space Investment Trust is the world's first and only listed fund focused on investing in private growth stage businesses coming out of the space tech ecosystem.
I mean, it's an area we often think of in sort of science fiction terms, but this is a very real industry that plays a big part in all of our lives. Tell us a bit about the sector and how it's evolved in recent years. What does it actually mean when we say space tech?
Yeah, well, to your point around science fiction, one of our mottos is it's really about science fiction now becoming science fact. What's happened that's leading to that rapid change? Well, first and foremost, over the last 10 years, you've seen a 100-fold decrease in the cost of putting stuff into orbit. How's that been achieved? I'm sure some of the audience will have heard about Elon Musk and SpaceX. Reusable rockets, so making it cheaper to launch stuff, and miniaturized satellites being built out to the same components that go into your smartphone. So you're now getting shoebox-sized satellites that cost hundreds of thousands rather than tens or hundreds of millions. That means you can put up lots of them. That unlocks incredible new capabilities that are really going to have a profound impact on our world and, from our perspective, touch every part of the global economy.
Perhaps the best way to illustrate what this technology is doing is to have a look at the portfolio. How do you put it together? What kind of businesses you invested in? What kind of things are they doing that sort of touch our everyday lives?
Yeah, so the biggest area of exposure in SSIT is around these constellations of what's known as small sats. So what I've just been talking about, these miniaturized satellites that are very low cost. That means you can launch an awful lot of them, hundreds, even thousands in any given constellation. So what we've typically looked for is really vertically integrated businesses. So businesses that sort of from soup to nuts design and build their own stuff, launch it into orbit, operate it, and then do interesting things with all of the data that comes out of it, applied with artificial intelligence. So that's a not dissimilar playbook to the one that has driven SpaceX to such extraordinary heights and success over the course of the last 10 to 15 years. And we've really looked for similar characteristics in the sort of satellite constellations that we've backed with reasonable success in recent years.
As you say, it's all about the data, but how much has AI sort of helped to unlock this as well, the potential of space technology?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point because undoubtedly AI is a major unlock for lots of the companies we're looking at. To give you a sense of what we're talking about here, just the amount and diversity of data that's being captured from space, we're talking sort of Google-esque levels of data sets here. So getting interesting insights from that, you need machine learning, you need cutting-edge artificial intelligence. But equally, what you're now seeing is a convergence of these two mega trends of space tech and AI, with now space itself being a massive enabler for AI. So one of the reasons that SpaceX is looking to go public is to raise a lot of money to start putting, believe it or not, data centers themselves into space to power the AI revolution back down here on Earth.
Yeah, does make a lot of sense. So you mentioned that you are the world's first and only space-focused investment trust. I guess there are other people out there investing, but what sets you apart? What sort of, what's the expertise behind the company? And where has it come from to get to this incredible position?
Sure, let's talk about other things that are in the public markets, and then I'll talk more broadly about investing in space. So public markets, you've got something like Seraphim Space Investment Trust, diversified portfolio, private companies. There are obviously ETFs that you can invest into that are sort of an index-linked way of playing the market. That's passive and it's only listed. Or you can go into individual stocks, some of which have performed well, some of which haven't. So we think our offering is unique in terms of offering diversified risk. What sets us as a manager apart from everyone else is, number one, we've been at this longer than anyone else. So we've been focused 100% on space for the last decade. And crucially, there's two other key distinctions. Number one, we genuinely play at a global level. So our portfolio has companies from more than 30 different countries in it across our broader group. That's not just SSIT. The other key ingredient there is we play at all stages. So we have 3 parts to our business: SSIT, which deals with the later stage growth stage opportunities, earlier stage venture funds, and also accelerators. So that means we're interacting with entrepreneurs from the moment they start thinking about starting a business, right the way through to the point that people are listing in every stage in between. So that really is the formula that has driven the success that we've had over the last decade.
And I guess it's an early mover. It means that you're almost the first port of call for a lot of these businesses when it comes to finding new investors. Perhaps talk us about the process behind finding these companies.
Well, over the last 10 years, we've built up a significant position globally by virtue of interacting with all these companies. To provide you some context on that, we've probably met with now upwards of about 10,000 companies over that time. And obviously don't invest into all of those, but through that we've built out a really broad network in the sector. We've co-invested with literally hundreds of funds around the world. We do an awful lot of thought leadership to try and help others understand and get educated on space. What does all of that mean? It means that people are bringing us opportunities on a frequent basis. So that is a key way that we go about finding businesses. We're also obviously proactively out and about visiting all sorts of different places around the world to try and find the next really exciting space opportunity.
And how hands-on are you with the companies you invest in? Is there a lot of sort of guidance that comes from you to help them unlock their potential?
There is. So the DNA of Seraphim as an organisation is we pride ourselves on being hands-on. What does that mean? It means we're typically joining the boards of these companies. Very typically, we're the only specialist space investor. So that has unique benefits for both the other funds that are investing, because we're bringing the domain expertise and the knowledge built up over 10 years. But it's also helpful for the management teams that we've invested in, because we're picking up on market intelligence and trends that we can feed into them to help drive their strategy and hopefully ultimate success.
So obviously you're investing at the cutting edge of this industry. Perhaps tell us about the innovation you're seeing and how that sort of translates into some of your own investments. Tell us a bit about some of the exciting companies that you've invested in.
Yes, I think, look, one of the really big trends that we've invested into is the convergence of SATCOM, satellite communications, so transmitting connectivity from space down to Earth, and terrestrial telecom. So historically, the terrestrial market has been many orders of magnitude bigger than space. And what you're now starting to see is those two things come together. How's that happening? Well, it's now possible to put up satellites that are able to deliver things like high-speed broadband direct to your smartphone from space. So even in developed countries like the UK, I'm sure we've all day to day got experience of going through places where there's no mobile connectivity. The brilliant thing about space is there's always connectivity being beamed down. So we think that's a really exciting trend, and we've made a number of investments around that. Most notable one being AST Space Mobile, which is now a listed business in the US with a market cap of about $30 billion and one of the handful of most valuable space businesses in the world. So lots of activity around that. The other big one really is about all of this data we've been talking about being collected from space. This is about insights about every square meter on Earth being captured in near real time, fusing that with artificial intelligence, and particularly aligning it with applications around financial services. That's an area that we think is rich in promise and one that we have invested in a lot. And then the final one that really does sound like science fiction but is starting to come into view, doing interesting things in orbit. So what do I mean by that? If you don't have gravity, you can build stuff at a molecular level that you can't do on Earth, that essentially gives whatever you're producing superpowers relative to building stuff on Earth. So you can start to make things and innovate in space to bring back down to Earth. What kind of things am I talking about? I'm talking about novel materials, superconductors, fiber optic cables that can have 100-fold throughput, pharmaceuticals that you're able to produce in space that you can't produce with the same properties here on Earth. So that may sound crazy, but that is now starting to be the next phase of evolution of space. Still doing things in space for Earth, but for massive terrestrial markets that you wouldn't normally think are being associated with space, like life sciences, like material sciences, like telecoms.
So as you say, ST Space Mobile is a very big company, gives you a kind of feel for the scale of the opportunity, but it also sounds like there's so much more to come with these kind of emergent technologies you've just talked about.
Definitely. The analogy we use is if you're looking at sort of AI as an investor, fantastic if you've managed to buy some Nvidia shares a few years ago. Fantastic if you found a way to get some exposure to something like OpenAI, for example. That's maybe necessary, but it's probably not sufficient to give you the breadth of exposure that you need for such an important trend. The same is absolutely true about space from our perspective. Yes, SpaceX is fantastic. You can absolutely find ways to get exposure to that. But really, the innovation, like in AI, is predominantly happening in the private domain. And we don't see that changing anytime soon. And the entire basis of our business is to go and find those very best emerging space businesses and back them and help them become category leaders.
I guess the next question, I mean, this is incredible stuff, as you say. A lot of it is in the private domain, but the investment trust structure, gives us as retail investors the opportunity to access this. Perhaps talk about why you've chosen to go down the investment trust route and the sort of structure behind the trust that makes it so attractive for shareholders like me, potentially.
Well, I think it's probably a combination of two things. Alluded to the fact that that this is a hard market for public market investors to get exposure to. It's a nascent industry. Much of the innovation is happening privately, so there wasn't really a way for private investors to get exposure to the kind of assets that we're investing in. So that seemed like a jolly good opportunity for us. But the much bigger and more important reason is around the permanent capital nature of investment trusts. So having an evergreen structure is massively important. Why? Because one of the things that excites us most about space is that there is a really good degree of visibility on how space is going to evolve sequentially in sort of an evolutionary way over multiple decades, and at each turn unlocking new, potentially multi-trillion opportunities. So what does that mean? It means we want to go and find the most visionary entrepreneurs who are telling us how they're not just going to change the world over a 3, 5 or 7 year time horizon, but how they're going to change the space sector and the world as a whole over multiple decades. And uniquely, we're able to say, we love it, we're there with you for the duration of the journey, or at least until such time as we believe that you're not growing as much as if we put money elsewhere. So our best businesses, and a great example of this is ISI, our most important company. We think there's tremendous amount of growth to come over a prolonged time frame. We think it's in shareholders' interest to be able to stay with those investments over the long haul, and an evergreen structure is the best way to be able to do that.
And 350 million fundraising coming up, good opportunity for retail investors to jump on board.
Indeed. So looking to raise up to 350 million in one or more fundraise. We think right now is the right time to raise fresh capital. Opportunity abounds at this really unique moment in the market, and I think we've shown pretty conclusively over the 5 years of managing SSIT that our model really works. We've backed some fantastic companies. My only frustration is we haven't backed more because we haven't had more money. So now's the right time to do something about that.
Absolutely. James, thank you so much for talking us through what really is the very exciting next frontier of investment. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.